Hello and welcome to our third show of the day on FLW TV. It's the Tuesday preview show with myself, George Harbey, your host for this afternoon. I'm joined by Billy Mulley. Billy, how you doing?
Very well, thank you. Looking forward to getting into these fixtures.
Yes, and Adam Jones, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, it's midweek action, so can only be a good thing, can it?
Yes, exactly. Yes, Championship and League One. The games come thick and fast. As I said, Championship League One are the two leagues in action tonight and tomorrow. So there's 7 games we're going to go through between now and the next half an hour. We want your comments of fans of the teams we discussed. Get your predictions in, see if you agree with our predictions, and just get your overall thoughts in. As always, make sure as well to subscribe to us on FLW TV on YouTube. Right then, let's get into our first game, which comes in South Wales. Yes, our first game of the night comes in South Wales. Cardiff City host West Brom at the Cardiff City Stadium, of course. 3 defeats in a row for Cardiff. They were thumped 5-1 at the weekend at Blackburn Rovers. So not a happy place for the Bluebirds at the moment. Coming to you first, Billy. Obviously, as I said, heavy defeat for them at Blackburn. Do you reckon, or did you expect that first and foremost? And do you reckon they'll respond tonight?
I didn't expect it at all. I think one thing we've come to expect with Mick McCarthy teams is that they'll always be they'll be in games. They never get beaten too heavily. And especially when you've got players like Morrison, Aidan Flint at the back, you just don't associate those sorts of scorelines with them. And they come into a tie now against West Brom, who I know they're not fully firing, but they are a side that can turn it on, press very well. They move the ball quickly, so it's a very difficult test, probably the most difficult test at the moment because of the way they do press, the way they do get forwards and how quickly they move. I think that it is, for Mick McCarthy, it's sort of damage limitation in this kind of game because they haven't had too much time to recover after the 5-1 defeat against the Blackburn side, who were criticised quite a lot at the start of the season, but they came out firing. And Ben Brereton Diaz, of course, making a name for himself as well. He's continuing that after such a brilliant summer. But in terms of what Cardiff can do, I think is I'm struggling to make a case for them at the moment.
I mean, obviously, Adam, they've got 2 home games this week, Cardiff, obviously tonight, and against your boys on Saturday at against Reading. If they don't win tonight, does it put a lot of pressure on McCarthy heading into that game? I know we're not going to focus on the weekend too much, but is it too early to call this a must-win tonight for McCarthy?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably got in the back of his mind as well that Reading won 2-1 away at Fulham, not so long ago. So, it'll be massive pressure for him. But I don't think it's sacking territory just yet. And I think that's probably the one saving grace. Some of his early results, the win against Nottingham Forest away, I think has proved to be crucial coming from behind. But I think, a lot of their players need to step up as well. They've the nucleus, I think, of a decent enough team. They've got, some attacking threats as well. Keir Moore, was representing Wales earlier in the summer. And, I wouldn't say he hasn't stepped up to the plate, but, he just hasn't really got going this season yet. And I think once he gets going, I think they'll be all right. But they also have, an attacking threat through the likes of Aidan Flint and Sean Morrison, who can make a difference from set pieces against a West Brom side that are pretty good at set pieces themselves. So they've got the potential to do well. It's just, I think, individual players and key players like Moore need to step up now. Otherwise, they'll find themselves in a bit of trouble.
Cardiff fans, get your comments in about McCarthy. What's your thoughts on him, and how do you think the game will go tonight? Just focus on West Brom then, Billy. Obviously won last time out against QPR. It was Carline Grant who got the headlines that night for his brace in the second half. But one man who seemed to make a real difference from the bench was Jordan Hugill against his former club. Should Valérien Ismaël be considering starting him from the off? And what do you think he brings different to what say Grant or Robinson or Dean Garner brings in that final third?
I think it's difficult to outright and say that he deserves to start, because I think there's this notion within the West Brom camp at the moment that they keep rotating their forwards. If someone outperforms someone, they'll rotate the 3 front men. And whilst it's rewarding players for playing well and trying to bring in confidence, it's sort of at their detriment at the moment because they don't have a settled front line. I think they've got some brilliant forwards. Hugo, as you mentioned there. Kyle and Grant obviously got the 2 goals. Callum Robinson, Matty Phillips, obviously operating as a striker sometimes as well, and he brings something additional. And also Grady Diangana. So there are some brilliant options there. It's just learning how to use them and sort of what combination unlocks the Championship pretty much. I think Hugo as well he's a player that does bring something different. He's sort of his ability to hold the ball up and bring others into play. He works well with his other forwards, which I think in that West Brom side is something that is certainly something that Ishmael's looking at. He's looking at him to link up with the likes of Diangana and Grant. But he also has the ability to go in behind and latch onto through balls. He's got a good turn of pace as well. Obviously knows where the goal is from over the years. So it's exciting for them to have all those options, but at the same time, it's using 3 of them for a consistent amount of games. Just to sort of bed them into the Championship, because I don't think that process has happened as of yet.
Before we get into our predictions for the game, obviously Billy reeled off a long list of attackers there, Adam, but one man he didn't mention, and perhaps rightfully so, is Kenneth Zohore. He's not been involved a lot this season. It's been 20 minutes in the Championship of football for him, but Valérien Ismaël has come out and said that, oh no, he's just injured, and he's still part of my plans. Were you surprised to hear that, given how he's performed since he joined West Brom from Cardiff?
I mean, I wasn't surprised that he said that, but I think in the back of his mind, I don't think he'll be that much a part of his plans. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think he'll play a little bit. I think with injuries and suspensions, you're always going to get them in the Championship throughout a 46-game season. You're always going to get injuries, suspensions. So I'm not surprised to hear him say he's a part of the first team plans, because you've always got to have him as an option. I mean, he joined from Cardiff City, I think it was 2019, for quite a hefty fee. So you want to get as much use out of him as possible. I know that West Brom fans aren't exactly too happy with him at the moment, and understandably so. I mean, he hasn't really lived up to their expectations. But I honestly think, if I had to make a prediction now, I think he'll probably be gone either permanently or temporarily in January. And I think he'll probably make way for a probably high-profile striker, maybe. I mean, the one barrier to that is the fact the West Brom board seem to be a little bit reluctant to spend money. But I think, someone like, Daryl Dike, I know we're living in dreamland here, but, having someone like him, I think, would be the difference between automatic promotion and playoffs. I really do. So I think it might be worth, investing the money, even if it's just a hefty loan fee they're investing in. It could pay dividends for the long term. But yeah, I don't see Zohore being a massive, part of their first team plans kind of in the long term. But in the short term, he's definitely someone that they can, use on the odd occasion, but, won't appear in match day squad, too often.
Right then, both sets of fans, get your predictions in the comments. Billy, we'll come to you then. Cardiff versus West Brom. What are you thinking about tonight?
Going quite bold. I'm going to go 3-0 West Brom.
That is quite bold. Adam, what are you saying for West Brom and Cardiff?
Splinters 1-1. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw for this one.
Okay. I reckon West Brom will win by a 0-0 in South Wales. I think that's very possible indeed. Right, let's move on to our next game in West Yorkshire. Yes, our man Alfie Burns will be at the John Smith Stadium this evening as 7th face 6th. Huddersfield take on Blackburn Rovers at the, as I said, John Smith Stadium. Huddersfield, obviously, since that 3-0 win at Blackpool, have lost the last 2 games in the Championship against Forest and Swansea. Billy, I know they're 7th, and of course, it's a long season. Are they too inconsistent to be top 6 contenders this season, or do you reckon it's just a small blip, and do you reckon they've got what it takes to keep on climbing the table?
Yeah, you mentioned the word inconsistent there, and I think that's exactly the word that comes to my mind when looking at their results so far. But they've shown in spells that they can be lethal going forwards. They've also proven to have quite a strong defence. Well, I've got questions about their defence, but I think overall what's happened so far, they can sort of be quite happy with their defensive display so far. Obviously, sort of Sorba Thomas getting his Wales call up today. He's a man in confidence. Josh Koroma as well, another player that brings that attacking threat. I know he was on the bench at the weekend, but he does have that ability. He's someone that makes things happen. Dwayne Holmes as well, someone else who's on the bench at the moment, just because of the form of the players that are starting. But as I said before, I think defensively, I do have those questions. Matty Pearson, who I saw a lot of at Luton last year, he's a player that's always prone to a mistake. And when you've got sort of an 18-year-old, and Carl Will sort of backing him up, that sort of raises a few problems to me. Although they have displayed that they are that they are a strong back line, but going forward, I do have those sort of questions and be sort of keeping a careful eye on them three.
And just looking at opposition, and Adam, inconsistency is not really a word we associate with Blackburn Rovers at the minute. I think they're unbeaten in 5 in the Championship, and obviously, as I said before, 5-1 win against Cardiff at the weekend. Just before focusing on the game for tonight, Ben Brereton Diaz, obviously a hat-trick at the weekend. He's in fine form, as Billy said. Do you reckon Blackburn fans should have concerns about potentially struggling to keep hold of him in January, or do you reckon, they'll be able to do so if interest arrives?
I think they're going to be kind of the victims of their own success with Armstrong and Elliott, because both of them have gone to the Premier League, since the end of last season, and Ben Brereton Diaz has become the main man in there. Whether he would have performed as well as he has now, with them two still at the club, it remains to be seen. But with them two gone now, he can kind of steal headlines. And he said in a post-match interview at the weekend that, his time with Chile has really helped him kind of with his confidence. And that's the reason why he's banging in the goals now. And they should be concerned, I think, about losing him at the end of the season. I think he's already matched his goal tally from last season. I think he scored 7 goals and got 5 assists last term. And he's already on 7 goals, after his hat-trick at the weekend. So he's definitely someone that, they should be concerned about losing. I think I saw in the Lancashire Telegraph that, they're stalling at the moment on contract terms. So it's definitely one for concern, because he could easily move up to the Premier League next season. I can easily see him getting a move there if he continues in the same sort of form. But consistency will be key for him. And if he can show that consistency, then he will, earn his move to the top flight.
Absolutely. Let's focus on the game then. Billy, just what's your predictions for this one tonight? How do you see the game going?
I think it'll be a tight affair. 7th versus 6th, as you said before. I think it's going to pan out that way. Maybe a late goal to decide it. I think I'll go for a 1-0 Blackburn win. Adam, yourself?
I'm going to go with a 2-0 Blackburn win, I think. I'm not sure if Huddersfield are going to kind of keep their form up. I'm sceptical about that. They've done well this season, but I'm not 100% sure, about them kind of, keeping it up and staying, where they are at the moment. So I'm going to go 2-0 Blackburn win.
I'm going to go with a 2-1 Blackburn win. And as always as well, make sure to follow Alfie Burns on Twitter for that one tonight at the John Smith Stadium. Right, let's move on to the next game. Yep, we're going to Teesside now. Middlesbrough take on Sheffield United at the Riverside tonight. It's not a happy camp for Borough at the moment. They've lost 3 of the last 4 games. And some very interesting pre-match comments from Neil Warnock coming into this one, who's set to do things his own way, he says. He's criticised, or being very open about Martin Pereiro and James Leah-Saliki this week. His new signings from abroad in the summer. He said that Leah-Saliki is nowhere near fit enough, and he didn't know where Martin Pereiro's best position is. So could be an interesting night from a warm-up perspective. Billy, just on them comments, if you were a Borough fan, would you be slightly concerned about the way he's speaking about? I mean, Warnock's not one to shy away from the truth, of course, but from a manager to say that about his new signings, would you be concerned about that?
Yeah, it is quite concerning that you hear those comments come from a manager's mouth. But at the same time, it's what Warnock does. I think he's probably outlined those players as 2 people that might respond well to those sorts of comments. There's a lot about Mourinho at the moment and how he spoke of how he treated Lampard and Joe Cole. So it might be a sort of a similar situation where he sees this as sort of the best situation to get a reaction out of them. And whilst it might look quite strange to us, that's probably where his mind is at the moment. And as you say there, Middlesbrough, it's quite a bad situation at the moment. Not quite dire, but it's heading that way. it was a really frustrating performance against Reading as well. When you consider Reading had that makeshift back line, Josh Laurent stepping into an unfamiliar centre-back role, and after scoring after 2 minutes and looking like they could sort of shift away and sort of go on to good things in that match, they then didn't create anything. I know it was ruled off for offside, but in the same sort of breath, they didn't create anything past that, and it was a really disappointing display from them, and something that when these games come around so quickly, it's something that you can't really target. I think one sort of bright light at the moment, Sporer, how he started taking his opportunities well, showing that he can sort of go long in behind defences, but also has the ability to come in and link the play. So I think he's someone that's adapted well to the rigours of Championship football. But overall, yeah, it is concerning at Teesside at the moment, and it's something that I think we'll be keeping our eye on.
Absolutely. Borough fans, get your comments in. Were you surprised to hear Warnock's comments on Pereiro? I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks as if, have you done any research into the player before jetting him over from Argentina? Or is Warnock the issue there? Just moving on to Sheffield United and Adam. Another win at the weekend, albeit late on against Derby County, Billy Sharp penalty. They're really picking up some steam, aren't they? At a time when they couldn't get going at all, they've started to score goals and grind wins out. What's your thoughts on them going into this one?
I think they should be very confident again. I think like Nottingham Forest, I think late recruitment kind of cost them in a way. But the fact that they managed to bring in the likes of Conor Hourihane and Morgan Gibbs-White just before the transfer deadline allowed them to kind of bed in kind of over the international break, and I think those two made them contenders. I knew that Hourihane would do very well at Sheffield United because he got promotion with Aston Villa. He took Swansea City within 90 minutes of Premier League football, so I know that he was going to do well. And you also have to give props to Billy Sharp as well for stepping up. He's got the likes of Mousset and McBurney and Brewster and McGoldrick kind of in competition for that striker spot, but he's done very well, I think, this season. Stepped up to the plate. I think the only striker who really stepped up to the plate last season was McGoldrick, but Sharp has this season. Now they're back in the Championship, and he's really kind of led by example. But I think signings were needed to change the mentality, and I think they can only get better from now on. From what Slavisa Jokanovic was saying, that they can only get better now, and there's still a lot of room for improvement, and I believe so as well. Put them down as my title winners for this season. I'm not sure if they'll get it now after a slow start, but I think there's still plenty of time to kind of get back in it, and I think they'll be firmly in the promotion mix coming the end of the season. So yeah, I think they should be very confident going into this one against a Neil Warnock side that couldn't manage to get past a right back and a central midfielder as kind of centre backs.
Are you predicting the Blades win then, Adam, tonight?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go with like a 3-1 win tonight. I think.
Very interesting, Billy. Do you agree with Adam there? Another Blades win tonight?
Yeah, I think they'll continue. They've got the momentum at the moment. They've got the quality. I think sort of all the ingredients are there for success at the moment. So yeah, I'm going for a 2-1 win, Sheffield United.
I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for the Blades. As always, keep your comments, get your comments in and predict the score for that one tonight. Let's move to West London. Yep, our final look at the Championship is QPR versus Birmingham tonight. QPR coming to this one on the back of 3 defeats in a row. That positive start to the season has been somewhat spoilt. Billy, can you put a finger on what's gone wrong for them, or do you reckon they've got enough in them to respond against Birmingham tonight?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be too disheartened because I think they've played, for me, the 2 best teams in the division away from home in West Brom and Bournemouth. Narrowly lost them both. Bristol City game was, a little bit more disappointing, but ultimately it was a late goal that won it. So it reads 3 losses, but at the same time, it's not too bad of sort of a fixture list when you look at it that way. I think it's a big game. It puts a lot of emphasis onto this game for the R's. But I think I still class them as promotion contenders in my head. I think the forward options they've got in Lyndon Dykes, Charlie Austin and Andre Gray are up there with the best in the division. I think the midfield as well, Johansson's been an excellent signing. He displayed it last year and now he's come here it came to the King Prince Foundation Stadium, on a permanent deal. He's made it his own, really. He's made that sort of holding role his own. Looking at Amos as well returning, I think he'll be a welcomed sort of returnee in that respect. 12 months out now, and it's been hard for Ars fans because they know exactly what he brings, and sort of stepping up to the Championship again might be difficult, but at the same time he's a very talented footballer who can definitely step into it. And then defensively speaking as well, they've got Dickey, they've got Harbey as well, who's looked good. Dunn, who's come in, who also looks a very competent defender. So in terms of what they've got a lot there to suggest that they can actually go on and kick on after such a disappointing 3 games for them. And I think Birmingham will be a perfect test to display that.
I mean, looking at Birmingham, Adam, their only goal in the last 3 games was a penalty. How did he go about fixing that from Lee Bowes' perspective? Do you reckon going into this one tonight?
I mean, it's a weird one because they have all the tools they need, really. I mean, Jukovic and Hogan were fine. You felt that they needed another striker, and I think that's the reason why Dean was such a good signing, not just for morale but also for leadership and for reliable, for reliability in terms of goals as well. Because even though he wasn't playing too much at Watford last season, he was still playing in the goals when he had the chance. So they have all the ingredients they really need. Chong as well, who can kind of get in behind and can also play on the wing. I think he'll be a vital asset as well. I think Bowyer needs to give him the freedom, if he hasn't already, to kind of just express himself a lot more. I think he's obviously going to make mistakes, because he's still a young guy, so he's still going to make mistakes. But just allowing him to roam free and kind of just express himself and get down the wing, and he could still be a great threat. I know that Mark Warburton before the game has said that Lee Bowyer has a good kind of mix of youth and experience, and having Dean in there and Chong, I think it just kind of encapsulates that as one. They have kind of everything they need. I think they just need that win on the board now. Obviously conceding 4 against them and 3 against Peterborough, they needed something to stabilise themselves. And obviously, they managed to do that against Preston North End at the weekend. So that's the one thing that they needed. They needed to stop, shipping goals at the back to give the forwards more confidence that if they score 1, 2, 3, then they're gonna, they're actually, gonna have a chance of winning. So I think they've taken the first step with Preston at the weekend and kind of make sure they kept a clean sheet. Now is the time. I think now is the game for them now to go on and show what they can really do and why they had such a a respectable start.
I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think it'd be a tight game. Billy, what do you reckon for tonight's game at the King Prince Foundation Stadium?
Well, I think what we were speaking about there is about Huddersfield being inconsistent. I think Birmingham are in that sort of same boat at the moment. QPR, I think, will bounce back very well. I'm going to go 2-0 QPR win.
Adam?
2-2 draw, I think. I think both sides had a decent enough start to the season, but haven't been as great recently. So I think it's going to be a very, very tight one. I'm going to go with 2-2.
Very interesting. Right, let's move down into League One. Yep, one of 3 League One games to predict, or previewing tonight, is Wigan versus Sheffield Wednesday. Promised to be a great game at the DW. Wigan Athletic on fire. The Ticks are 5 wins. Got 5 wins in a row at the weekend. Will they make it 6 tonight, Billy? What do you reckon?
I do, yeah. They look unstoppable at the moment and definitely favourites going into this game. I think Sheffield Wednesday is probably the majority of people's picks for winning the league at the start of the season, but coming into this game, I think they'll struggle to deal with this Wigan side. I think now Charlie Wyke's firing, Callum Lang on the wings, looking a very, very good player. James McLean as well, also providing that sort of experience and also ability. But I've been mainly impressed with their defence. Kyle Watts, who's come in from Newcastle, he's looked like a very, very good addition. A player that start at Wigan's could be sort of their own downfall. I wouldn't be surprised to see Championship clubs looking at him, sort of proposing a loan deal to Newcastle that might be more suited to what Newcastle are looking after. But then Jack Watmore as well, partnering next to Watts, has also looked a very good addition, a player that was also linked with the Championship. So they've got all the ingredients there again. I know I'll keep using that phrase today, but yeah, they're a side that definitely fit that description. And yeah, I see no reason why they cannot continue in their recent form.
And obviously Sheffield Wednesday coming to this one on the back of a late heartbreak at Ipswich Town, a bizarre goal. Billy Peacock-Farrell on the ball out of Macaulay Bonne. Like he's on one of David Attenborough's shows, creeps up behind him and pounces and eventually scored for Connor Chaplin. Adam, do you reckon Sheffield Wednesday that would play on the mind, or do you reckon they put it behind him, one of them things, and they'll bounce back tonight?
It was such a farcical mistake. First of all, fair play to Ipswich Town supporters. Fair play to Ipswich Town players for kind of keeping quiet. It was just, it was just such a farcical mistake as well, and could have been so easily avoided with a bit of communication. And I'm not sure, does that kind of signify a deeper problem kind of in the West Brom camp, Sheffield Wednesday camp? I mean, with that's because I was thinking of Darren Moore. I mean, with Darren Moore, they don't seem to have kind of like a bad word to say about him. So I think they will pick themselves up. No one, I don't think in the football world has a bad word to kind of say about Darren Moore. So yeah, I think they'll bounce back well, but I'm not sure if they'll be able to really get the win today, or maybe not even get a draw. But I think they'll, give a decent enough account of themselves. It's just the fact that, I think they've only scored, I think it's 7 goals in 8 games, and whereas Wigan have conceded less than a rate at less than a goal per game. So it doesn't really bode well for them. But I think having Barry Bannon back in the squad, after being a doubt for this game, I think is a major boost for them. So that's the one thing that should give them hope. But yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday season has gone like Peacock-Farrell's has. It's kind of started off very well and then kind of went a bit downhill. So now Peacock-Farrell needs to get his confidence back, and so do Sheffield Wednesday with that. But it's time for Barry Bannon to step up as captain, and a few of the other senior players as well. It'll be interesting to see if Che Dunkley starts as well against his former club. Give it a bit more of an edge. But they were on the verge of keeping a clean sheet against Ipswich until that moment of madness. So they might kind of stick with Iorfa and Hutchinson at the back. I think they might do that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Ben Phillips has gone with a 2-1 Wigan win tonight. Thanks for your comment, Ben. Keep them coming in. Billy, do you agree with Ben here?
I agree that it'll be a Wigan victory by a goal, but I think it'll just be a 0-0 this evening.
Yeah, I'm going to copy you there and say 1-0. Adam, do you agree with a Wigan win?
3-1-0s, I think. I think it'll be a hat-trick of 1-0s. I can't see Sheffield Wednesday scoring, but I can't see them kind of conceding too many either.
Happy days, and let's move in to London. Yep, penultimate game in the preview. We're at the Valley. Well, George Douglas is at the Valley tonight for Football League World. Charlton Athletic, 1 win from their opening 9 games. Put it simply, Billy, is it a must-win game for Adkins tonight?
I think so, yeah. I think even a draw could be too little for him at this point. As you say, 9 games, 1 win for Charlton Athletic, a team that has promotion aspirations, who recruited well as well, with the likes of Sam Lavelle coming in, Stockley as well on a permanent deal, Elliot Lee from Luton as well, that I thought would go on and have a really, really enjoyable, productive spell like Shinnie sort of appeared to last season. But yeah, it hasn't gone that way at all. And I think it's sort of, I don't know if I can lay the blame on Adkins. I don't really know what's going wrong there. Obviously, he's proved himself all across the divisions before. He still seems positive though, Adkins. He still believes that he's started a project there and it deserves the time. And I don't really know what to make of it at the moment, because at this rate, it could be disastrous for them. I don't see enough in their performances at the moment. Sorry, I don't see enough in their performances to get out of this sort of rut. And with the players they got, they simply have to.
Ben's left us another comment. Cheers, Ben. As a Charlton fan, I believe we've got the squad to move up, but I'm not convinced Adkins is the right man for the job. Seems as though certain players are picking themselves. Hate to say it, Bolton 3-1 win. Oh, Ben, I'm sorry to hear that pessimism ahead of tonight's game. Adam, what's your thoughts on the game tonight? What's your prediction? Do you reckon Bolton will bounce back after 2 defeats following what was a good win at Ipswich? How do you think the game's going to go tonight?
I think they'll be in a much better place kind of mentally than Charlton Athletic at this moment in time. I think the mental side of it will be decisive in this game. I mean, when you boil it all down, they've just been promoted from League Two. They were in administration not too long ago. And, if it takes them, 2 seasons or so, or 3 seasons to get back to the Championship or whatever, then so be it, because considering the situation they're in, a year or two ago, it's night and day really, and they built back, and that they benefited from that. And compared to the likes of Charlton, who have lost I think they lost like just 1 game out of their last 15 games of 2020-21. So there was a lot of expectation going into the season, but despite that, as kind of a plea and mitigation for Nigel Adkins, I think that they should be doing a lot better. Having Jadon Stockley up there as a good option up front, they should be doing so much better than they are doing at the moment. So I think Bolton will fancy their chances tonight, I think. If I had to go for a prediction, I think I'd have to go for a 2-1 Bolton win, to be honest with you. Just because of that mental side of the game. I'm not saying that they're better necessarily on paper than Charlton, but I think the mental side of it, football is just as much of a mental game as it is physical, and I think that will be demonstrated, tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Billy, what do you reckon? What's your prediction for tonight's game?
I think it will be. I think a common theme with Charlton games is that they're quite closely contested. I know the majority of them have ended in narrow defeats, and that's sort of they haven't been battered, is what I'm trying to say. They haven't really been outplayed, I don't think, many times. And for that reason, I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I should have thought a prediction before I came to you. I think Charlton may just nick a 1-0. I'm going to be controversial and say I think pressure's on. They'll get 1-0 home win. George Douglas is there tonight. Make sure to give him a follow on Twitter. And that leaves us with our final game of the preview show, again in League One. Plymouth Argyle at home to Crewe Alexandra. Argyle on fire at the moment. Haven't lost since the opening day of the season. They won again at the weekend against Doncaster. I think that was Billy's banker in the betting show. They're up to 4th now, Billy, as well. I mean, do you class them as playoff contenders this season? Only 1 point off the top. I know it's early days. Is it too early to call them playoff contenders, or do you reckon they'll be up there coming the end of the season?
I think, you can start casting them as promotion contenders, because I think the main thing for me is when a team starts winning in different ways, and that's what they showed at the weekend. They came from 1-0 down. Sounds like a bit of a gritty game, one of those that on another day you could easily lose, but that Plymouth seemed to recuperate and put in a performance in the second half to go and win the game. Obviously won it late on, which is also a good sign of a team that goes on to be successful, late goals. So, I think there's definitely scope for calling them promotion contenders this year. I think Ryan Lowe's a very good manager. He's been associated with jobs in the Championship because the way he plays football, bright attacking football, is also associated with his teams, and a very progressive manager that's doing really well at the moment. I think we've seen with Ryan Hardie as well, and Luke Jeffcott. They've got 2 good strikers that score goals. Another important sort of additional thing that's needed to get yourself promotion. Good ball playing midfielders as well. In sort of Jordan Houghton, and Ryan Broom, 2 good players, young players as well, that are doing very well at the moment. And then as well, I know I keep mentioning Luton players or ex-Luton players, but Brendan Galloway as well has stepped in, and I didn't see too much of a future for him in the English game because he struggled for minutes so very often, and now he's dropped down the division and he's looking comfortable again, which is good to see from sort of a Luton perspective. And they play a Crew side again who are not too confident. They don't really have much going for them at the moment, so it's a good time for Plymouth to play Crew at the moment.
Crew have only won one game this season. Adam, what's your prediction for this one then? Is it a straightforward win for Argyle tonight?
It's not going to be straightforward, I don't think, because Crew have a point to prove. They're 2 points adrift from safety. They finished 11th last season. So, again, as I said, they've got a point to prove and they want to get up the table as soon as possible to kind of get themselves away from danger. I know that, League One is a lot more competitive, I think, this season, in my opinion, with the likes of Ipswich Town investing and all that sort of stuff, and Bolton Wanderers coming up and the promoted teams and doing well. But I think it won't be a very easy game for them for Plymouth. I think that it'd be another tight game. But the thing with Plymouth for me is the fact that they've managed to win 3 games now by a 1-goal margin, and the ability to do that will keep them kind of in contention for a playoff spot definitely in the end of the season. You can perhaps question their squad, ability compared to others, others that have heavily invested, as I've said, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, some of the recently relegated teams. So you can definitely, question, whether they can stay there, but they've got, a manager who will probably go on to do, great things, to be honest with you. He seems very promising. I'm liking, what I'm hearing about him. But I think for me, the ability for them to kind of grind out single goal victories by a 1-goal margin, I think it'll probably be tonight 2-1 victory, I think, for Plymouth Argyle. I'm not sure if it's going to be as easy as a lot of people are saying.
I'm going to go 1-0 Plymouth. Billy, you're predicting what are you predicting there?
I'm going to go 3-0 Plymouth again. I'm going to go bold.
Very bold indeed. Lovely. Well, that rounds off our Tuesday preview show on FLW TV. Another bumper day on FLW TV, and there's plenty more that came from tomorrow, 11 o'clock in the morning. We've got the debate show with myself, Marcus, and Ned discussing the most underrated managers in the EFL. There's also action tomorrow night, so George, Marcus, and Ben will be previewing that tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and also at 5:30, Sheffield United way join Alfie Burns in the Sheffield United Club Takeover show, where they'll hope to have be discussing a win for the Blades at Middlesbrough tonight. But that wraps up today's episode of the preview show. Thanks for your comments and thanks for tuning in. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and give us a follow on all social media platforms. And until next time, see ya.